All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a seriously fascinating medical concept, one that completely flips typical Western assumptions about the human body right on its head. We are going to look closely at the San Jiao theory of pathology in traditional Chinese medicine, which you might also hear called the triple burner, the triple energizer, or the triple warmer. So, think about this. What vital organ governs your body's fluids and qi, but doesn't physically exist? It sounds like a riddle, right? But this question actually gets to the very core of how traditional Chinese medicine maps out the human body. You know, in Western medicine, we're so used to pointing to a physical liver, a physical heart, or a lung, but TCM recognizes entire systems that go way beyond physical mass. It's all about how things function and communicate. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that the San Jiao is not a physical anatomical structure. You literally can't hold it in your hand on an operating table. Instead, it is a purely functional system. It's this essential, invisible network divided into 3 distinct zones that governs your body's qi, its fluid metabolism, and the communication between your organs. It's responsible for distributing yuan qi, that's your original qi, and regulating the entire movement of water and food throughout your system. To really grasp how all this works, our roadmap for today covers the invisible system, the Upper Jiao mist, the Middle Jiao foam, the Lower Jiao drainage ditch, tracking warm diseases, and finally, tailoring the treatment. Okay, Section 1. Let's lay down the groundwork for the invisible system and San Jiao pathology. Rather than looking at isolated, disconnected parts, San Jiao theory gives us a functional geographic map. It literally divides the torso into 3 sections, the upper, middle, and lower jiao. And what's really amazing is how this framework approaches pathology. It is absolutely vital for understanding how diseases affect different parts of the body, especially when we're talking about febrile diseases, meaning fevers, and fluid disorders. It gives practitioners a reliable framework to track exactly where a disease is located, the specific type of qi or fluid disorder we're dealing with, and how that disease is progressing. Let's start moving through the map, beginning at the top. Section 2, Upper Jiao. The mist that disperses qi and fluids. Traditional texts refer to this highest area as a mist. I just love this imagery because it so perfectly describes the function. The Upper Jiao disperses qi and fluids, regulating respiration and circulation, kind of like a fine, gentle mist spreading outwards and downwards through the body. So the organs living in this mist are the lung, the heart, and the pericardium. Because the upper jiao is your body's absolute first line of defense, it takes the hit from wind heat invasions at the exterior Wei level. If that invading pathogen manages to sink deeper, it causes lung heat, or even heat in the pericardium, pushing the illness into the much deeper nutritive yin level. Think about the last time you came down with a really nasty respiratory infection. You almost certainly felt these classic surface-level upper jiao symptoms: the fever, the chills, a scratchy sore throat, and a cough. But if severe heat pushes all the way into the heart and pericardium, it causes chest depression, restlessness, and what TCM calls a shen or spirit disturbance, which can look like delirium. Continuing our descent through the torso, we hit the metabolic center. Section 3, Middle Jiao, the foam that governs digestion. The Middle Jiao is described as foam. It's a brilliant way to illustrate its role in churning, transforming, and governing the digestion of food and fluids. Honestly, think of a bubbling, active cauldron constantly breaking things down so your body can actually use them. The core digestive organs hang out right here: the spleen, the stomach, and the gallbladder. Because their main job is transformation, they are incredibly susceptible to pathological patterns related to internal blockages. The most common culprits: internal heat affecting the stomach or spleen, and damp heat settling heavily right in the middle jiao. If that internal foam gets bogged down by heat or dampness, you are going to feel it big time through intense digestive distress. We're talking profound nausea, heavy bloating, high fevers, and epigastric pain. And here's a wild detail. If a practitioner looks at a patient's tongue and sees a thick, yellow, greasy coating, boom, they know instantly damp heat is trapped in the middle jiao. Finally, we sink down into the lowest tier of our map. Section 4, Lower Jiao, the drainage ditch governing elimination. Okay, drainage ditch definitely doesn't sound glamorous, but it is absolutely vital. This zone governs elimination and reproduction. Its main job is doing the heavy lifting of separating the pure fluids from the impure wastes and making sure that waste actually leaves the body. The organs mapped to this basement level are the liver, kidney, bladder, and intestines. These lower elimination organs face intense, deep-seated pathological patterns when the body's balance really fails. We frequently see patterns like damp heat in the lower jiao, kidney insufficiency, and a very serious condition known as heat-stirring liver wind, which is where extreme internal heat actually generates neurological symptoms like tremors and spasms. When a disease reaches this drainage ditch, the symptoms are major red flags, indicating the illness has hit the most critical levels of the body. You might see scanty dark urine, burning, and severe diarrhea. And if the pathogen manages to reach the absolute deepest blood level, you'll see tidal fevers, bleeding, delirium, and even convulsions. So how does this all move? Section 5, Tracking Warm Diseases and Pathogen Progression. In a specific branch of TCM called the Warm Disease School, or Wenbing, practitioners use this exact 3-tiered map to track the progression of an invading pathogen. It's fascinating. We literally watch the illness sink. It starts in step 1, the Upper Jiao, as a surface-level exterior syndrome like a cough. If it goes untreated, it sinks down to step 2, the Middle Jiao, turning into internal heat that totally wrecks digestion and creates damp heat. Finally, if it still isn't stopped, it crashes right into step 3, the Lower Jiao, where the heat and dampness descend to affect the kidneys and liver, causing those extreme symptoms like bleeding and collapse. So, what's the so what here? Why does this spatial mapping matter for a real patient in a clinic? Section 6, Tailoring the Treatment. Ultimately, the San Jiao theory is a highly practical tool. By identifying exactly which jiao the pathogen has reached, a practitioner isn't just taking a wild guess. They are localizing the heat and delivering a highly targeted treatment that is specific to that exact stage of the disease. Notice how the physical treatment strategy literally shifts downward. If the disease is stuck in the upper jiao mist, the goal is to clear heat at the top using points like large intestine 4 and lung 7. If it's sunk to the middle jiao, the focus completely shifts to draining dampness and supporting the spleen using powerhouse digestive points like stomach 36 and spleen 9. And if it's hit the lower jiao, the principle becomes critical. Clear the damp heat, tonify the kidney, and cool the blood using deep reserves like Ren 3 and kidney 3. By mapping the invisible, the San Jiao theory makes the complex, hidden progression of disease totally visible and, more importantly, treatable. So the next time you feel an illness moving from a chesty cough down into a heavy stomachache, ask yourself, where exactly is that pathogen lurking in your San Jiao? It totally changes how you view your own body, doesn't it?